What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to this week's installment on The Lake Show, and I really appreciate you all making me a part of your day. Guys, I apologize for not posting the past 3 weeks. I know that I promised that I was going to be more consistent with this, but unfortunately, just life happened. I got very, very busy. I'm currently being slated for a new job, and I'll be moving soon. So just a lot of moving parts in my life right now, and unfortunately, I haven't had time to get into the studio and actually make some content for once, like I promised I've been doing. And this, I apologize in advance that this episode will probably be a little bit rushed, but I'm still going to tackle everything that I want to tackle today. But I currently have a tea time at 11:08. Got to go whoop my father in 18 holes. So if you're wondering why I'm in a polo, that's why. And yeah, I can't wait to I got to get my get back because the course we're going to, he had a generational ninth hole to beat me. He birdied while I shot 8 on the final hole for him to beat me by 1 stroke. So, yeah, that was fun and horrible at the same time. But I'm going to get my get back today. And obviously, this will be posted. This is posted the day after. So, you know already that I won. But again, before we start today, I'd like to give all praise, all glory to the one true God, Lord Jesus Christ. I thank him every single day for the life that he's given me, the love that he shows me, and the mercy and grace that he has on me every single day. Love him with everything in me, and I can't thank him enough for the beautiful life that I have because of him. So let's get in it today. So obviously, we are 2 weeks away from the college football season. We are 3 weeks away from the NFL season, so the clock is winding down in the off season. We are right at the doorstep of awesome time in sports every single year. This is the best time for sports. So obviously, like I said, it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode today, probably 15 to 20 minutes, but I got 2 topics that I want to talk about, and I'm going to go more in depth with it. But we're going to start off. Judging by the thumbnail, I'm sure you can all tell, and the title of the video, what are some coaches that I'm keeping my eye on, like just being on the hot seat? Are they more likely to get fired or more likely to be retained? So that's what we're going to go into today. So I'm going to discuss some coaches who, there are talks about whether that's the fan base, whether that's the media, just coaches in general that are on the hot seat right now, or if they have a poor season this upcoming year, will be on the hot seat. So we're going to talk about, obviously, you all know I'm a Hurricanes fan, so I think it fitting to talk about our rivals' head coach. We're going to talk about, real quick, to start off, we're going to talk about head coach Mike Norvell. So Mike Norvell is currently a 38-34 record at Florida State. Started the season hot last year, going 3-0, beating Alabama, number 8 in the nation, week 1, and we're going to talk about Alabama's head coach here soon, but Mike Norvell got off to a hot start after a disastrous 2024 campaign where I believe the Seminoles went 2-10. Yeah, 2024 record of 2-10, just a year after going 13-1. So Mike Norvell, 38-34 record, and it has just been trending downhill. His buyout is massive, and I'm amazed that FSU just didn't bite the bullet and, just fire him, just cut ties, because a lot of people have been, like, after the 2022 season where he won 10 games and the 2023 season where he won 13, everybody thought that Mike Norvell was there to stay. I want people to understand this. The man has 2 winning seasons at Florida State. He has 4 losing seasons. Here's as it follows. 2020, when he first started coaching at Florida State, they went 3-6, followed by 5-7, 10-3, 13-1. We all remember how that season turned out. 2024, 2-10, and then 2025, they finished 5-7. So the fact that those 2 seasons are the only reason that Mike Norvell is still here back in 2022 and 2023. Florida State started hot last year. They beat Kalen DeBoer in Alabama, which was ranked number 8 in the nation, fresh off a 2-10 season. Started 3-0, then lost to Virginia in overtime, and then from there on, it was just downhill. Mike Norvell has to, I think that Florida State has to make a bowl game, at least for them to even consider keeping Mike Norvell on as the head coach. Bringing in Gus Malzahn from last year, it was an okay move. It couldn't, realistically, if you were Florida State, you couldn't get much worse than 2-10 from 2024. Obviously, a 3-game difference from last year to the year before. But what's in store for Mike Norvell this year? I do not know, but knowing Florida State and the current state of that program right now, it would not shock me if Florida State has another subpar season. I could be wrong, but I'm willing to trust my gut on this, that more than likely after this season, I'm willing to bet Mike Norvell will be fired. And honestly, I am very shocked that he hasn't been fired yet. All right, let's move on to another head coach. So, in football purgatory, there's very few teams, but they know who they are. I think none other than mediocre, of the consistency of just average in the Big Ten, Nebraska football. Head coach by Matt Rhule. Matt Rhule holds a 19-19 record at Nebraska currently. 5-7 in 2023, 7-6 in 2024, 7-6 in 2025. Lost the Las Vegas Bowl last year, heading into year 4. What's in store for Matt Rhule? Well, realistically, I think he needs to at least get to 8-9 wins for him to retain his job too. It's time for Nebraska to get over the hump. Nebraska is the definition of consistently average. Never good enough to, make noise in the Big Ten, but never bad enough to be the basement dweller of the Big Ten. Talk about average. They're a version of the Iowa Hawkeyes, except Iowa is like the old Wisconsin, where they would consistently win 8 to 10 games every single year. Again, not make the Big Ten title game, but not be a basement dweller either. Nebraska needs to get back to that kind of level before they can even think about getting back to the level of Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, anything remotely close to that. And I was not alive then, for those who are the Nebraska faithful wanting their program to be back in the Tom Osborne days. I'm sorry, those days are long, long gone. I'm not entirely, and especially with NIL, a lot of guys from that Nebraska team, we saw Dylan Raiola, who was a very, very talented quarterback. I don't necessarily believe that he had the best coaching at Nebraska, but he transferred. He went to go be Dante Moore's backup at Oregon. So what's in store for Nebraska this season? Realistically, I think they're looking at another subpar season. Again, I'm leaning towards the 6-6, 7-6 kind of season. I don't know. Matt Rhule has a dead even record. Again, definition of just average and mediocre. I think Matt Rhule is out of a job at the end of this season too. All right, now we're going to go to some more high-profile coaches who've actually won. One coach that I'm talking about has won 2 national titles, and the other one has appeared in one with a Pac-12 team at the time over the SEC. Right now, we're going to talk about Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer holds a 20-8 record over his 2 years so far at Alabama. Nick Saban lost maybe 8 games in I want to say like a 10-year span at Alabama. I've been one to tell everybody that I think Kalen DeBoer is a good coach. He is just filling the most impossible shoes to fill in college football history. The GOAT retired. Nick Saban retired. The man won 7 national championships in the 20-plus years that he spent at Alabama. Well, I think it was 18 years. Regardless, in that 2-decade span, Saban won 7 national titles and widely considered the greatest coach of all time. He is filling impossible shoes, and he has already lost 8 games in the matter of 2 years. So I'm more so, I don't think they'll fire Kalen DeBoer because, again, he's a former national championship coach. His record speaks for itself right now. 20-8 don't sound a lot, but he went 9-4 in 2024 in his first year, and then he went 11-4 last year with a college football playoff berth and a college football playoff win. It's There's steps to this. He's not Nick Saban. Nobody is Nick Saban other than Nick Saban. So I think the Alabama faithful, the alumni, the fan base, they need to pump the brakes a lot because I know we expect more from Alabama. I expect more from Alabama, especially just because their team looks so soft. Their team looks ill-prepared to play in these big games. Even early on against Oklahoma in the first round last year, they played horribly. Now, granted, Oklahoma crapped themselves and absolutely blew that game wide open. They basically handed Alabama that win. And then, obviously, Indiana gave them the boot in the Rose Bowl. So, I guess if I'm Kalen DeBoer, if I'm making the college football playoff this year, I have to make it at least to the quarterfinals. And if I make it to the quarterfinals, I cannot get blown out by 30 again. I don't think there's any chance that Kalen DeBoer gets fired after this season, but realistically, the entire Alabama fan base basically wants him gone. The second that they don't win a national title, it's a national title or bust at Alabama. That's the precedent that has been set for years. And realistically, I understand why, because you had the greatest coach of all time, and he had the greatest teams of all time. That's just what they expect. But unfortunately, they got to pump the brakes right now. Kalen DeBoer is a good coach, but he is nowhere near Nick Saban. He's still good, I'd say upper tier coach of college football, which any team would be lucky to have him. But again, he's not Nick Saban. Nobody is Nick Saban. There is one of those, and there's a reason he's the greatest of all time. I don't think Kalen DeBoer gets fired after this year, but there will be legitimate talks if one, he can't beat Georgia in the SEC title game. I think he has to win the SEC, and I think he has to at least win 2 playoff games, possibly get to the quarterfinals or the semifinals. So I don't know how well that's going to go. I don't necessarily believe in Alabama this year, especially because of their quarterback situation. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm willing to bet Kalen DeBoer will at least have a 4th year coming for Alabama, but there will be real talks about getting rid of him after next season if Alabama does not, I would say, at least reach the semifinals. All right, so one more coach we're going to talk about. Not necessarily bad, but realistically, it is what it is. The times are changing, and he has failed to adapt, and that's Dabo Swinney. Again, 2-time national champion. His legacy is cemented in college football as one of the greatest coaches ever. Nobody's going to take that away from him. But realistically, that it seems like the game has passed him by. I know they won 10 games in 2024. I know they won the ACC in 2024, but they got absolutely belted by Texas in the first round of that playoff. Following year, a lot of people, including Joel Klatt, picked them to win the national title last year. Some predicted him to go undefeated because Cade Klubnik, Peter Woods, all that talented defense and talented offense, like they looked good. On paper, that was a national championship team. Yeah, they went 7-6 last year. So it just shows you that Dabo Swinney, I know he went into the portal this year, got a couple key players to fill in key roles, but over that time where he could have stockpiled, talent from the portal with NIL, he didn't. And the time is just passing by. Everybody thought Cade Klubnik was going to be the next Trevor Lawrence. He was nowhere near Trevor Lawrence. And unfortunately, I think that everybody had those expectations. Trevor Lawrence is looked at as one of the greatest college football quarterbacks of all time. I believe he only lost 2 games in his tenure at Clemson, or 1 game. No, 2 games at Clemson, his entire tenure. That doesn't happen often. I can only think of a few other quarterbacks that lost that few games, like Ken Dorsey from Miami and from 2000 to 2002. There's levels to this. Cade Klubnik was nowhere near Trevor Lawrence, but Dabo Swinney has still failed to adapt to the changing times of college football. I'm not sure about their quarterback situation because Cade Klubnik's now on the Jets. Peter Woods is gone. Defense should be okay. Dabo Swinney always seems to field a good defense at Clemson, but again, that quarterback situation is definitely something to keep an eye on. I think Dabo Swinney is out of a job at the end of this year, not because of maybe a poor record, but just because I don't believe that Clemson, I think Clemson plateaued with Dabo Swinney. He got his 2 national championships, but again, I don't see Clemson reaching those kind of heights again unless like something drastic changes with Dabo Swinney, his coaching and his, approach to the offseason and NIL and the transfer portal. I'm kind of a coin flip for those coaches. All right. So we're going to finish up today. Obviously, like I said, a little bit of shorter episode, just getting back into it, but I'm going to give you my college football playoff national championship bubble. In my bubble, I have 6 teams that I think can win the national championship, definitely, and then I have 5 teams surrounding the bubble, like where they can make a run for the national title, but I think there will be a couple things that hold them back. So in my national championship bubble, I'm going to throw it up on screen here. I have Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, Notre Dame, Texas, and Miami. I don't think that there's many people who would argue with that. There will be plenty of people to argue that you should put Georgia into the mix. I don't necessarily trust Georgia, especially after how they finished last year. Is Gunnar Stockton really that guy? I don't know. And then my 5 teams on the outside of the bubble, they can make a run. I believe they have an outsider's chance to win a national title, but these are the teams that I would choose for that. Ole Miss, Texas Tech, Georgia, USC, and LSU. Now, it's only year 1 for LSU and Lane Kiffin. I think that there's going to be immense pressure on Lane Kiffin to make the playoff, especially because he left a playoff team for a team that has way more resources. LSU as a brand, as a whole, is way more valuable than what Ole Miss is. It just is what it is. I understand why Lane Kiffin left, but again, he had it so good in Ole Miss. He had such great teams. I think LSU needs to make the playoff, but I have picked LSU to fall short, go 8-4, 9-3, and miss the playoff. But again, that is a coin flip for me. They could either go on a run or they can crap the bed about it. So we'll see. USC, I think that it's Lincoln Riley's time. It's either put up or shut up. That is one coach that I did not talk about in the hot seat. That is one coach I will add. If he does not make the playoff, I think he will be out of a job. This is easily the most talented USC team he has had since he took over. Yeah, he had the Caleb Williams years, those 2 years. First year, they almost made the playoff. Second year, they a little less so. They won like 7 or 8 games. But this is put up or shut up time for USC and Lincoln Riley especially. This is the most talented team you've probably had in a long time since your Oklahoma days. He's got to get it done. He's got to at least make the playoff. Otherwise, he's going to be out of a job. Georgia, I touched up on. Texas Tech, I'll still give an outsider's punch, but I should have probably threw BYU over Texas Tech in this situation because I made this with the impression that Brendan Sorsby would not have been dismissed from the program due to all of that stuff that went on. But I can still see Texas Tech make a run because Will Hammond at quarterback, they still looked good when Baron Morton went down last year. So I would still put Texas Tech in that mix. Their schedule favors them, and they can definitely make the Big 12. Ole Miss, strictly because of that offense, Trinidad Chambliss is back, Keywan Lacey is back. They have a stout offensive line that is coming back. They have great weapons that are coming back. I worry about the defense, but with Trinidad Chambliss and Keywan Lacey, I give them a puncher's chance in any single game. I don't believe that Ole Miss will make the playoff, but if they do make the playoff, they will be a headache for whoever has to play them. In the bubble, obviously, Texas, Arch Manning, Steve Sarkisian, that's another coach I needed to talk about but didn't have time to. But again, I think Texas, this is put up or shut up for Steve Sarkisian. Notre Dame, pound for pound, might have the best roster in college football, along with Oregon. Miami, locked and loaded, especially with another fantastic transfer quarterback coming in. I think Miami runs it back. I think they have a great shot. Ohio State is in there, and Indiana. I may not think Indiana is going to make the playoff, but they will always be viable as long as Curt Cignetti is on that team and coaching that team. And that's going to wrap it up this week on the Lake Show, everyone. Thank you again for making me a part of your day. Again, I apologize for late posting. I apologize for not posting as much, but I will be back in the swing of things. Just bear with me and be patient with me. I thank you all for joining me today. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, leave some comments down below. I'm your host, Dominic Lako. God bless.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something, don't take for granted.